Anytime we're working with MCP or Model Context Protocol, we're kind of thinking about it in two ways. The first is the server itself. So what type of server are you connecting to? Is it a standard input-output stdio, which is essentially like, a Python package or an NPM package? It's not pulled locally, but it is stored in cache. So it's not like you're doing a, pip install or anything like that. And then you have your streamable HTTP-based MCP servers, which are, in somebody's server somewhere that you're connecting to. So a good example of this that I always use is the GitHub Copilot MCP server. So we have these two pieces of the puzzle, right? We have standard input output, and then we have streamable HTTP. How do we actually connect to these MCP servers? And that's where an MCP client comes into play. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to connect to MCP servers with MCP Inspector. The first way we're going to connect is via standard input-output server. So as you can see in the docs here, you have a couple of options. You're either connecting via an NPM package or you're connecting via a PyPy package. So for example, let's say you're connecting with one of these and you say, hey, I want to go, look at the MCP server. You can go on the PyPy website and you can actually see the MCP server there. It's literally just a library. It's just a module, just like any other, third-party application stack that you may be incorporating into your application code. So I'm going to head over to VS Code here, and I'm going to run this command. So the MCP Inspector tool is an NPM package. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to run npx to be able to hit the inspector, and then we'll see a URL pop up here. So as you can see, this is running locally here, and then we have a couple of options for the transport type. We can do standard input output, we can do streamable HTTP, and SSE is here as well, but that was deprecated back in June of 2025. All right, and then we have our command here. So in this case, for example, the Kubernetes MCP server is an npx package. So we're going to use the npx command, but if it was a Python package, we'd use UVX, all right? And then for the arguments, we're going to say -y Kubernetes MCP server, right? And then we don't need any authentication for this piece because it's technically running locally. All right, we're going to hit connect. And then we can see, I'm going to zoom out here, tools, ping, sampling, etc. And then if I click list tools, we can see all the tools available here. So I have a Kubernetes cluster running and it's in my local kube config. So because I'm running MCP Inspector locally, it can hit my cluster, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click run tool. All right, and we can see the output here that it's an AKS cluster. All right. Now, the next thing that we can do is if I just close out of this page here, right? Let's say I want to hit the MCP server directly instead of, having to type in all the configurations on the left. You can just utilize this command here. So you're saying npx Model Context Protocol Inspector, and then you're putting the command and the arguments in when you run the inspector tool. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do this. All right, the URL is going to pop up. All right, and we can see everything's already pre-filled for us, and then we can click connect. And here's our list of tools again. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to take a look at is streamable HTTP. All right. So in this case, we're going to have a couple of configurations here. We're just going to utilize the npx inspector command, which, I already have it running, so I don't have to. And then the URL is right here. So it's api.githubcopilot.com/MCP. And this is just, one of many streamable HTTP MCP servers. Now, under the authentication piece, we actually have to authenticate to this MCP server. So if I click on authentication, the name of the header is authorization, okay? And then the value is going to be the word bearer space your GitHub path token. All right, so if we started this thing from scratch, all right, we're just gonna reconnect. All of my configurations are here because I was already using this. And then I can click connect here and go to tools, list tools, and then we can see a bunch of GitHub tools here. All right, so for example, I click on list branches, right? I say the owner, I'm gonna use my GitHub org. And then I'm going to specify the repo. So if I go to one of my repos here, I'll just utilize the IEEE AI World Leader Summit because this is a talk that I'm getting ready for. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that repository name. Actually, I don't even need all this. I just need the repo name. And then I click Run Tool. All right. And then we can actually see now what branches are available, which in this case, it's only main. All right. So that's how you can connect to both standard input-output MCP servers and streamable HTTP MCP servers. Thanks so much for watching.